realities, man. We were talking to a guy like Brock Lesnar, and he's standing over you. There's at least 1% of your brain that's going, please don't fuck me, please. It's not that he's gay, because he's not. It's not that even if he was gay, he couldn't do better than me. He could do way better than me. It's that if Brock Lesnar wanted to fuck you, it'd be his call. What are you gonna do, fight it off for a certain amount of time? When you get that guy the size of Brock Lesnar, he might be able to fuck you on this stage. He might just drag you up here, pants doing, Brock smash! Ah! And there might be 2,000 of us in here waiting for somebody else to say something first. Like, I'm not really worried that Brock Lesnar would fuck me. What I'm really worried is that he would use me as a condom to fuck something way bigger. That's the real fear. I'd wind up in the back of his pickup truck with a pair of bolt cutters going, why are we at the zoo? Shut up!
Hi, it's Stephanie, aka Steffi's Dot on Twitter, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the Hijack Raw movement. I'm of two minds about this. I mean, on the one hand, there are, you know, it's childish, it's juvenile, you know, it's reactionary, it's knee jerk, it's, you know, it's kind of, you know. And it's of course it's very disrespectful to the other people, the other workers, and you would hope that there would be a modicum of respect still present when for lack of a better term, this protest is going on, and I'm pretty sure there will be, you know, because I did read their little manifesto thing. So they clearly have rules put in place for this. But, at the same time, there is also, you know, that, like I said before, it's a direct way of letting the company, the business, know that they're not happy with the product. They're not happy with what they're seeing. And with that, I'm also very much like George Carlin in the sense that I'm delighting in the chaos that may or may not ensue within hours from now. It's like 4 o'clock where I am right now as of this recording, but it's I don't know if you remember the Jammin' in New York special where he's talking about how he likes to watch NASCAR and he wants to see, you know, guys on fire touching their heads to get the fire out of their head. So, you know, and mass confusion, mass destruction, chaos, apocalypse. You know, I'm being very dramatic about it, but you could also argue that everybody else is being dramatic about it. So it's one big dramatic thing, but it's also very, very comedic.
I just really think that Alberto Del Rio should turn face. I think that's what should have happened. They should have done a double turn because Batista, everybody hates Batista now. I mean, it's like the unspoken thing, except for everybody is speaking it on Twitter, on Facebook. This guy is just not popular.
Hey guys, it's at Hooded Yes Man on Twitter. I just wanted to give you all my feedback on the top 5 heroes in the WWE right now. I would say Daniel Bryan, CM Punk if he comes back, Cesaro, Dolph Ziggler, and how about, I'd put The Undertaker.
I think this is fake.
You can't say that. I can say that.
Wrestling's not fake! It's still real to me, damn it!
The unscripted, uncensored, loose cannon of commentary.
This ain't WCW! This ain't Monday Night Raw! This ain't SmackDown! This ain't even WWE!
Do I have everybody's attention now?
The recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment.
You're listening to Marks on Commentary.
CM Flunk. I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
You are listening to Marks on Commentary. Jason, what the fuck happened Monday?
I don't know, but I regret everything.
I think you would appreciate this. Like, I think about 5 or 10 minutes into the main event on Raw, I was actually standing up screaming at the fucking flat screen in our living room, like ready to throw my laptop across the room because I'm a mark. I bought into it. I told you, it's documented on the show. You know how I feel about this. Mm-hmm. You know I'm a realist. Deep down, you know I'm a depressed realist. He was not coming back. I bought it. I bought it with Paul Heyman's opening, promo.
Yep.
They addressed it. And I got to agree with a lot of people on Twitter, and I got to agree with a lot of people on the dirt sheets and different blogs. This isn't like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know Stone Cold was a real walkout when Vince McMahon came out and addressed it. Why are they sending Paul Heyman out to address it in character? Mm-hmm. Why is he blaming it on The Undertaker? And why is he blaming it on the WWE Universe?
You're asking me, or are you...
I'm just, in general, I'm ranting right now because if this man is really done with the company, are they brilliant in the way that Shawn Michaels had Bret Hart's music play during that opening Raw where he was teasing when they were in Canada, oh, Bret Hart's coming, and we all fell for it? Is it another scenario like that? Or, and I remember saying on Twitter on Monday, either WWE's brilliant, they're quixotic, they're wishful thinking, or this thing's really over. This is, I know that was, 12 o'clock, 12:05, whatever, Monday night, that was it for you.
Yeah. I was even hoping during the pre-show, I'm going, well, the pre-show's still, the post-show. The post-show's still going on. And I thought, well, that's the hook. That's how they get everybody. Uh-huh. But I was deathly depressed after that show. Because up until, the last frame of that show, I'm going, any second, here he comes. And they built it somebody's going to come and help Brian. And nothing.
Well, again, we are Marks on Commentary. Jason accidentally leaked our 30 Days of WrestleMania 1 video today.
Yep.
Which
by the time anybody's hearing it, it'll be back up there.
It will. I look like a serial killer. I'm happy with those videos. I'm very proud of them. We got 15 more to go. But I think you guys, if you go on YouTube, Marks Commentary, you guys will really appreciate it. I'm in true form tonight, Jason. I can't speak already. I do want to rant a little bit. We do have callers tonight, which you'll hear if you didn't already hear. I've already given away. I've broken the fourth wall, Jason. I've ruined the show. It's over. It's completely over. Michael Sears received his 2 Marks on Commentary. Now, Jason, we were talking about this before. We are Marks on Commentary, and we don't even own our own goddamn shirts.
No, it's very sad. We're very poor wrestling fans that don't even own our own T-shirts. There are 4 T-shirts out there that have been printed, and we own none of them.
And that's not a gimmick. We're not playing that up. We are not. It's not I bought 2, Jay's bought 2. No, we have one Mark, at Michael Sears on Twitter, who bought 2 T-shirts. A former host bought a T-shirt. Jason, they look awesome. I'm looking at his picture. Why do I not own this yet?
We'll get there.
So, however, if you buy more T-shirts, that'll bring money into the show, which means Jason and I can then buy our own T-shirts. I'm actually glad we didn't get our faces printed on the shirts because I'd feel really sad if someone's walking around with an Eddie or Jason T-shirt, and we are Eddie and Jason. We don't have our own shirt.
Just some random kid out in Colorado.
I wanted to do that, and it's not a vanity thing. I genuinely wanted Jason and I to get our face printed on our shirts just to see, for shits and giggles, if someone in Boulder, Colorado, or San Diego, or Alaska would willingly be walking around with one of our faces on a T-shirt. I just think that'd be hysterical.
I love
Jason has an announcement tonight. I think I'm jumping the gun here because we were kind of talking about Monday Night Raw, but I'm disappointed, Jason. I'm let down. My feelings were hurt. I may have to seek therapy now. I am a mark. It's like being at an AA meeting. Hi, my name's Eddie, and I'm a mark. I was really hoping CM Punk was going to come back. I fought that feeling, man, for so long. Like, it's done, it's over, get over it. I can't. Because I've been fooled before by this fucking company.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the mark, though? Pun intended. Is that the mark of a great company, or is that just like they know how to manipulate us?
They know how to manipulate us. There's a room full of writers, and you have, the greatest, what do you call him? Paul Heyman, just, he can flip any situation around. So they knew what they were encountering when they entered Chicago, and they said, how can we use it to our advantage?
Knew, and I accidentally had offended a Chicagoan by saying, I joked that, you know what? None of this would happen. They just gave him the goddamn ice cream bars. And this guy flipped out. He's like, you think we're that, gullible in Chicago? Dude, it's ice cream. It's ice cream. I mean, if nothing else, you could have pelted Triple H by the end of Monday Night Raw with ice cream bars. What could you have want? What could you want more than that? I mean, I think overall with the show, like the Shield versus the Wyatt family, like it was the return match, but it was just as good. It was just as good. And this time there was more. They were cultivating the. I personally think at WrestleMania, the original card we read in the dirt, I think that's going to be the ultimate. I think it's going to be Bryan Triple H. I think it's going to be Cena Bray Wyatt. I think you got a triple threat with all three Shield members. It's looking like that at this point, unless Big E and Dean Ambrose do the unification match. I think you're going to have a Shield triple threat.
Yeah.
I mean, do you hate that idea? Like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you hate?
No, I don't hate it. And I was actually very impressed that they took Seth Rollins and kind of made him a focal point of the storyline now, because he's kind of been the guy in the background. You know what I mean? It's either been, Roman Reigns or Dean Ambrose, and then Seth Rollins in the background, and they kind of pushed him towards the front. So
I do want to point out that I had made a reference to The Usual Suspects. It was actually, who did I say it was? Did I say it was not William Baldwin. It was Daniel Baldwin. Mm-hmm. You have no idea how much this pained me after I posted that. I beat myself up, ladies and gentlemen, over the accuracy of my ability to know obscure movie references. It was Daniel Baldwin, not William Baldwin.
All is forgiven. Do 10 Hail Marys.
It's not right, Jason. But seriously, when he was making those faces, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching The Usual Suspects. It's cocksucker. Like, Dean Ambrose, I fucking love his faces. I do. I'm worried because when we started, last year, when the Shield emerged, I mean, I don't think I'm wrong in saying that you and I were 110% behind Dean Ambrose as being the breakout star. I never would have guessed in a million years Roman Reigns would be the guy.
Yeah, neither did I. Like, because normally it's just, that's the big man role where you just, he cycles out in 2 years and nothing ever becomes of him. But he's really stepped up in the last year.
Not to jump around here, but I did read Hulk Hogan, and of course it's mentioned on Raw. Hulk Hogan, big WrestleMania announcement on the following Raw this coming Monday. Any idea?
It's so the part of me wants to be like, it's CM Punk. I'm like, that would be the worst comeback ever.
With Hulk, introducing you. You see, brother, I was in cahoots the whole time, brother. I don't know, like that kind of caught me, because it wasn't like it wasn't totally subdued, but it was kind of like they were still rolling with Wolverine, Chicago, whatever this. Do you think it's a WWE Network announcement? Do you think his role in the show more, or?
If I had to go big, maybe it's somehow putting Bryan in the title match, but that seems weird right now. The only thing I can kind of vaguely guess is maybe it has something to do with Mr. T in the first WrestleMania match.
I'll give you that. That's a probability. Can I ask you, though, when Steph and Hunter did the promo with Bryan, how badly did you want to hear No Chance in Hell have Vince come out and be like, nope, I'm back in Bryan?
Oh, yeah. 100%. You know what? Maybe that's the groundwork they're laying.
Well, that was the thing. I felt like this past Raw, it wasn't a giant missed opportunity for Punk. I just felt like it was a giant missed opportunity for a lot of good story angles. I mean, if there was a night, if you could not, and that's not to say, because I had a lot of people tweeting us and saying, well, I'm from here and we're just as good of a crowd. I don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to like take away from our listeners and say wherever you're from geographically, you're not as good of a crowd as Chicago, New York, New Jersey, Boston. But those are the big metropolitan areas that give the good pops. I mean, if anything, I think if you're offended, we'll do something about it. You know what I mean? Like
Hijack Raw.
Yeah, hijack. And the whole hijack Raw thing, we had a call her about that. If you want to make it, do I want to offend the Occupy movement? Yeah, I kind of do, because they're a bunch of fucking hippies. If you actually want to have a movement with any substance, have a movement that actually does something substantial. Like if you're offended by me saying that your city is not reacting well, get your city to react better. Like, I don't know, if I feel like that's the thing. The backbone of WWE is obviously being in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
I mean, the hotter the audience is, the more Vince is going to want to go to your city and do bigger shows. And that's why I felt like Chicago was hot as hell. Why were you not making big WrestleMania announcements or giant storyline shifts there? I mean, Taker was originally, they said they were going to bring out Hogan and Taker to kind of off shift, of the hijack Raw movement. But I just felt like that was a missed opportunity because Taker wasn't there. Hogan wasn't there. Like, yeah, you had a phenomenal promo between Bryan, Triple H, and Stephanie, but ultimately, without Vince's music, I wasn't totally sold on it.
The only thing I can think of is, and I still hate to be speculative, but, maybe plans are still in a flux. You know what I mean? Maybe they don't know 100% if Punk is coming back. I have lost, like, a lot of hope in thinking he will, and it becomes less and less likely as Raws pass, but... you know what I mean? Like, it's as much as, and last week you said you'd hold me to it that, this Raw, it would be over. And I do feel like 95% of it, the chance is gone. But, there's that lingering until, you know what? Here's the silver line, not the silver line, but the concrete of when the WrestleMania cards, when Triple H's match is officially announced.
Right.
Because then you know who he's wrestling, what the rest of you can kind of figure out what the rest of the card's going to look like.
And now I have been reading, obviously, in the dirt sheets, Vince didn't want to bury Punk on that Raw because he likes Phil as a person. Mm-hmm. But they're saying as the power shifts more to Triple H's favor, Punk's ability to come back on his own volition, if you will, is diminishing because obviously, I don't know if they have guys in creative or the locker room feeding into the dirt, which is very possible. We know it's happened before.
That, I guess, led to a lot of what went down this week is that allegedly a high-powered ex-WWE superstar fed Dave Meltzer the rumor that Punk's going to be back on Monday, and that's what started everything. So...
I mean, I'm wondering who that big ex-WWE superstar is.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, who would be in the know to believe, and I'm like, it wouldn't be Foley. I don't think it would be Austin. I'm trying to go through names of who it could be. Like,
it would have to be someone credible enough for Meltzer to say, okay, I'll take your word for it.
The only name that honestly comes to mind is somebody like Kevin Nash.
I was thinking, honestly, Nash or Foley.
I think Foley's too much on Punk's side.
Do you think that, that's the thing, though. Would that play more into, I don't know, because even Foley, like, I can't tell if his recent blogs are part of a bigger storyline or if it's genuine.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but I believe Foley is genuine, so I'll tend to give him a pass there, in my mind.
I mean, speaking of Nash, though, recently X-Pac had done, like, an independent show where he had told somebody he's going to be the one or at least one of the people inducting Scott Hall.
Awesome.
Now, pretty much all the dirt sheets have been totally correct, with the exception of Lita. Lita was like a shot in the dark. Like, I had no idea Lita was going to be inducted.
Mm-hmm.
So far, from when we started talking about Hall of Fame inductions, it was Jake, Warrior, and fucking Paul Bearer.
Mm-hmm.
He earned it. I didn't get any reaction last time on Twitter. Don't everyone else beat me to it. I still feel weird about Paul Bearer going in without Undertaker, though, because I do know that was William Moody's. If he had it his way and he was still alive, that's really what he wanted.
Yeah, but the only thing I think is that one would overshadow the other, you know? Like, he doesn't get his, defining moment in the sun. You know what I mean? Because he's overshadowed by The Undertaker.
Right.
And it kind of gives him the center stage to be that focal point.
Now, is it too presumptuous to say, though, that we know exactly who's inducting him?
I think it should be pretty obvious that it should be The Undertaker. I can't think of anybody else, really.
I mean, literally, the only other person I can see is Glenn Jacobs, but I want to see Mark Calloway break character for once.
Yeah.
Well, that leads to another question. Do you think that Undertaker Hall of Fame, because he's never televised, he's never present on camera, if his first televised appearance at the Hall of Fame is it going to be as his Undertaker character, or is it going to be as Mark Calloway?
I think it'll be 90% Undertaker character with a couple hints of, reality in there.
Now, that leads to my next thing, though. So, if the dirt sheet's been correct this often, are we getting Scott Hall? Are we getting NWO? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it'd just be Scott Hall right now. That's not that the NWO won't go in, but I think this year's, at least for Hogan, like if you were to include him into the NWO, Hall of Fame thing, that casts a different shadow on what they're trying to, it's all the nostalgia that they want to bring back of the 80s Hogan, and, complimenting him on something he did in the 90s kind of sheds a different light on what they want to shed on right now. At least that's where my mind goes.
I must ask, though, because, I mean, typically, when we've talked about this before, now, again, how many guys or women usually go into the Hall of Fame every year? I want to say it's at least 6 or 7.
That sounds right. About 7.
At that, maybe?
Yeah.
All right, so we got Paul Bearer, we got Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake, Lita. So we have 3 slots open. I say you got 2 empty slots, and then you got a celebrity slot. Mm-hmm. If Scott Hall goes in, does Nash go in with him? Not together as a pair, but do you think? Because I've read that if Scott Hall goes in, Nash has to go in with him.
I know that at least in interviews, Nash has said he won't go in before, I think, Rude and maybe Macho Man. So
Scott Hall,
who knows what's changed?
If all 3 members of the accountability crib at DDP, if all 3 of those guys go, well, no, the 2 guys, namely Jake and Scott, you got the last 2 slots. One's a celebrity, one's an open slot. I mean, as the show progresses, as we get close to Mania, do your thoughts change on either of those, or I mean, are you still kind of like? Because I still say celebrity, it's got to be Kaufman or it's got to be Laufer. It's got to be one of those 2.
Or Mr. T.
Or Mr. T. And I almost feel like Mr. T is favorable because Hulk. If Hulk has an announcement, what if Hulk's announcement is that Mr. T goes in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
And so you already filled that slot before Scott Hall. So you have one more slot. Who do you think it is?
I don't know. Like, I feel like they should do more tag teams. So, I don't know. Like, you'd have to go with like a vintage like NWA team, like I don't know, like the Rock and Roll Express or something like that.
Right.
Something of like credibility. Like you're not going to throw Harlem Heat in there.
Demolition.
At some point, maybe, but not yet. There's a lot of more credibility teams.
Well, also keep in mind too, the WWE Network has launched.
Yep.
You have WCW and ECW. Could it potentially be a WCW or ECW guy?
Yeah, maybe Vader. Vader's a name that's been tossed around. I'm trying to think I don't know if they do ECW yet, because I feel like that's a whole like they'll wait to get back to Philly for something like that.
I mean, if Barber it makes sense to have big. Well, I feel like if it's ECW, if you could do WWE Hall of Fame ECW guys, obviously I think Van Dam's gonna be #1 with the bullet. I think it would be Van Dam, or it's probably gonna be Tommy. Right.
Sandman, Sabu, like the guys that appeared on that WrestleMania together are those are the core ECW guys, and then you have like guys like Raven.
Well, that's a better question. Do you see Heyman going in?
At some point, yeah. I think after he gets done with Brock, or whenever Brock decides to walk away, like that's when Heyman will go in.
I mean, I wonder because JR and the King were both inducted, and they were still announcers when they were inducted, and they got inducted together.
Yeah.
Not as a pair, obviously, but they're the same year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at some point it's gonna happen.
I mean, does that leave room for like? Is Mean Gene in there? I'm a terrible mark. Is Mean Gene in there? I feel like he is. Yeah.
Almost positive he is. I'd have to figure out what year, but
it's gonna be a sad day when Michael Cole goes in there.
That's a long time away, hopefully.
Or JBL even. I mean, Ron Simmons is already in.
Yeah. I don't know. Ron Simmons got in though because of his, him winning the WCW title and shit. Less for his APA run.
JBL is on screen right now, but JBL, that's a wild card. I mean, John Bradshaw Layfield, I mean, he was, in the 90s at least, he was a credible performer. I mean, I like him, out of the King and Cole, I like him the most out of that trio.
Yeah. He's got a lot of animation to him, and he's interesting to listen to. King is kind of passe now, and I'm not really into him that much anymore.
I do want to ask you, though, because I was thinking this, Eric Bischoff, do you think he'll ever get in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, of course. In some capacity, he'll get in there.
I can almost guarantee one person that will never get in the Hall of Fame in WWE, and that's Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, are you on the fence about that? Because I'm almost sold on the fact that...
there's other names that I'd say will never get in the Hall of Fame, and everybody tries to convince you that they should be, but...
Well, I mean, aside from Owen Hart,
I was talking about...
Oh, yeah.
He who shall not be named.
Well, that's a good question. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. You, in your heart of hearts, no pun intended, will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's a tough one for me because there's to have Warrior headline, that's a forgiving company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously that's got to be tested if Macho Man gets it in, but I think that's more of like Owen, that's more of the family wishes than it is WWE.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there one aside from the obvious? Is there one? Because I got in this conversation with someone, I think it was this week, about females, and I'm like, China, and he was like, China's never going to get in because we're past. Sonny has a past. Every wrestler road. Sonny's in, but they all have a past. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
People that could be in are already in. I mean, the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior, like he already has a past. Are they going to hold the past against somebody getting into the Hall of Fame? I don't think so. I think China's going to get in there.
Yeah, time has to pass, and then we'll revisit that idea, but...
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a good number of years before. Personally, I think when Paul Levesque, thank you, Triple H is in, immediate power, it's up to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw last year with Bruno Sammartino, obviously he was asserting himself and being able to dictate, this is who I think should go in, this is, I think China will get in there, though. I think if there's divas from days of yore, if you will, I think China and Luna and Sable, I think Sable's a huge name to get in there.
It's an interesting one. I haven't thought of that one. That could almost... I think they only like to keep it to one woman per year, but that's an interesting name that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing go in at some point.
Who, Sable?
Yeah.
Why not? She defined the 90s, dude.
Yeah.
In terms of, female diva wrestlers, she was the 90s.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good one. I think if it's anybody that doesn't get in, it's somebody that Vince really doesn't, I don't know, care for and hasn't been able to like rebound. Like somebody like Medusa, where when she dropped the title in, like I think she killed like any chance of her career coming back because I don't know if she was big enough to come back at any point to rebuild her star power. So she's kind of diminished over the years, and nobody really gives a shit anymore about her.
I mean, Mark Henry's even teasing on Twitter that he is a big fan of the company. And I know Mark Henry's been a huge advocate for Owen Hart getting in.
Yeah.
Not
actually, if you listen to the recent 30 years of WrestleMania podcast that they put out, Brett actually talks about, it's not a Hall of Fame in his mind until Owen gets in.
I mean, I'm not going to jump the gun and say Scott Hall, Owen Hart, Cyndi Lauper, Mr. T, but dude, Warrior and Jake the Snake are in. I mean, again, this is less WWE politics and more of the widow of Owen Hart. But I feel like if the man's brother can reconcile with the company who is supposedly at blame for Owen's death, then again, there's, I mean, and not to get personal here, but that's something I've been discussing with my family, my dad dying and all. Like, who gets to say what in terms of quality of life or, what's left over, etc. Mm-hmm. Is it up to the wife? Is it up to the kids? Who's it up to at the end of the day? I mean, I still think that Owen Hart, it's not a Hall of Fame until Owen's in there. I mean, I don't know. That's just my thought on it. Brian Pillman's not in there.
Yeah, that's another name. There's a lot of weird names where you're just like, oh yeah, that guy.
I mean, you could go King Kong Bundy, Bam Bam Bigelow. You could go a lot of names. I'm just curious as to if Scott Hall's next and then that leaves celebrity, that still leaves one open slot left. Who's that go to? And I agree with you. I think it'll probably be like a veteran. I think it'll probably be like a territory veteran. Mm-hmm. But I mean, and again, not to totally sound like a terrible mark here, is Killer Kowalski in?
I believe so.
Is it? Because I want to believe he's in, but
yeah, I mean, it was like I think it was like in the early like mid '90s when it wasn't as big of an event. You know what I mean? Like it was just I think they did it like the night before Survivor Series at one point. So it's since become obviously one of the bigger highlights of the weekend. But
I already think regardless, you got Jake, you got Warrior, you got Lita, you got Paul Bearer right now. You've already sold me on wanting to see the Hall of Fame. I may buy the fucking subscription just to see that event.
I got locked in. I forgot to, because I was going to cancel for like 2 weeks.
Oh, you're up to the 6-month commitment now?
Yeah, I'm locked in. Like I was gonna wait until April.
The poor Mark got sucked into a commitment with WWE television.
I get sucked into commitments all the time. Zing! Just kidding.
I'm gonna record that. I'm gonna do it on the tape record. I'm gonna play that at your wedding, sir. Including the zing. I think the zing will sell it for you.
I'm kidding. I love you, honey. Not you, Eddie. Fuck you.
Come on. I'm like your second wife. This is terrible.
You're my wrestling wife.
I'm his. Oh, that sounds dirty. No, but going back to Raw though, the Usos. I mean, was that a part of me was kind of like, are all the titles gonna change tonight because CM Punk's not here? Like, was that a gimme because Punk wasn't there, or do you think they really earned it that night?
I'm not a fan of them. I feel like I'm gonna regret that at some point, being like, "Wow, they're headlining WrestleMania." Fuck, but I don't know. Like, I do think they earned it. I do think it was good timing. I do think it was a way to satisfy that crowd because the crowd seemed hot for it.
They did. I mean, are the Usos really over? Because that's the thing when you tend to not favor a superstar like Cesaro, for example. Cesaro to be honest, he could not be more over than he was this past Raw.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, him and Swagger are done. They're building to that. There could be a Swagger-Cesaro match at Mania.
And I believe they're talking about adding Big E to that equation, too. For, like, another three-way for the IC, or the singles title.
Well, because, obviously, if the Shield are in a triple threat against each other, why not have a triple threat for the IC, and why not have Cesaro get it?
Yeah.
obviously he's over. Our caller had even said like Cesaro is one of his top 5 heroes in WWE, but Cesaro technically is a bad guy. He's a heel
right now. Yeah,
but I mean, we were at Survivor Series when he did the big swing. Like, it's a theme song, it's a move, it's whatever. That was over with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think Cesaro reached a point, and dare I say, when Punk was sporting his T-shirt last year at Fan Access. I mean, I'm sorry, but Punk's one of those guys. If you have his support, I feel like the crowd follows.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no different than, obviously I'm going to get kind of geeky here, musically when Nirvana went mainstream with Nevermind and they're wearing Dinosaur Jr. and Sonic Youth shirts. I mean, those were underground, post-punk bands that, they had a cult following, but as soon as Nirvana went mainstream and said these are the bands we listen to, they got bigger major label deals. Mm-hmm. That could be the same with Punk. Punk is the mainstream sort of misfit who, if I'm in the limelight now, there are guys like Cesaro out there who I appreciate, or Brian or Zack Ryder, who deserve some attention. I don't think it hurt. I don't think that's necessarily 100% paramount to Cesaro being where he is now, but I think it certainly helped.
Yeah. Anytime you get light shed on you by one of the top guys in the company, it certainly can hurt you.
Go back to Zack Ryder when Steve Austin tweeted the photo of him wearing the Ryder headband. I think a lot of Ryder's build was behind a veteran like Austin saying, I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. He's a good kid and he's a good worker and I don't hate his character.
I think that's, true for a lot of media when, this director says, wow, you have to watch this movie because it's awesome. A lot of people will flock to that, so.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and I watched a whole documentary on the bastard. The guy that wrote Apocalypse Now was kind of in the American Zoetrope, like Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg. And it was like you had these 3 huge juggernaut directors supporting this guy that was essentially a misfit who was constantly shooting himself in the foot. I think it's true to any industry. If you have somebody that is thrust into the limelight and they're like, you know what, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to kind of help my friend out. I don't think it hurt. I mean, again, look at Ziggler. Like, you can say all the shit you want about Batista, but there had to have been a kind of relationship between Batista and Ziggler for that altercation to even happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think Ziggler's got a shot. I really do. I think
for what?
Just I main eventer card. I don't know. He's
this year or down the road.
If it's not within the 2 years, then he's done.
Okay.
That's my prediction. If it's not within the next 2 years, then there's nothing more you can do with him.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I agree with that definitely. But they have a lot of rebuilding to do with him, because he was so hot last year.
All right, now here's the concept, and we're doing this on YouTube, Marks and Commentary. We'll kind of like do the dream book thing with like you'll go back and you'll watch WrestleManias and you'll think like, how would I have done this differently? I think this could apply to the show right now. 978-276-9418 at MO Commentary. Take a superstar. What would you change about them to get them to like I don't want to say superstar status because they all are, but like main event status? What would you do to a particular superstar to get them there? I mean, for example, with you, obviously, what would you do to like tweak Ziggler?
I just think making him, a featured point on the show is key. Like, because that's the thing is he's always pushed off into the background. He doesn't get promo time. Give the guy the fucking microphone. Let him talk.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing in my mind is if you're not going to get anywhere by not talking and having a squash match against Del Rio. So
Del Rio was actually the next name for the guy to walk out. I mean, if Del Rio leaves, will anyone care? Probably not.
No, I don't think it's as big of a deal. I think he's kind of played the hand he's had in WWE, and he did well. He won 2 WWE championships and 2 World Heavyweight championships, and
well, he's a young guy. I mean, he's not the youngest guy, but he is a really young guy to boot. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he turns up in Conan's promotion that's supposed to happen sometime in August. Same with Ray, actually. There's a lot of talk of that happening. Is that he goes and works for AAA USA or something like that.
yeah, I honestly I don't see Mysterio sticking around for much longer.
No.
I mean, I'm one of those, like, I was joking with a coworker today because we have these vintage VHS tapes, if you will, and this guy was buying a tape on Shirley Temple, and he was talking to my coworker Aaron. He was like, "Oh, and Aaron was like, "Oh, she passed away." He's like, "Yeah, well, that's kind of why I got this because I kind of want to go back and watch." And she's like, "Oh, this must be, this could be potentially really valuable." And he was like, "I don't know." I mean, I kind of feel like, that with certain wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see Del Rio being one of those wrestlers where it's like, or even, Rey Mysterio, like, they're not vintage, you had to see them kind of wrestlers.
Yeah.
The comment I was going to say, though, was that, like, when, they announced Shirley Temple had passed away, I thought she was already dead. In terms of wrestlers, like, I thought Rey Mysterio was already done, if you want my honest opinion.
Yeah.
And he showed up in Boston. Oh, there's Rey Mysterio. Hey.
Yeah, it is kind of weird because it's like I think they push him too much. Like, because he's, he'll go 3 months and then he's got a knee injury. Go 3 months, another knee injury. So,
right.
The best thing I heard is how to use him is like a special attraction, but I don't know.
Well, you had mentioned before that we have questions this week on Twitter.
Just a light couple questions. A new follower, Eric Cohen, who is the greatest WWE superstar of all time?
You cannot ask us questions like that.
I know, it's too vague.
Hey.
Like, can't you be like the greatest, I don't know, superstar of all time that wore trunks? Like, limit it down. Like, that had blonde hair. I don't know.
Well, here's the problem with greatest superstar. It's relative. It is so relative. There is no definitive answer. Fuck you. There is no relative answer. You, the WWE Universe, or the Marks on Commentary Universe, there's no definitive answer. You could say Hulk Hogan, I'll say fuck you, Bret Hart. You could say okay, I'm going to say CM Punk. You could say Warrior, I'll say Taker. There's no definitive answer because that's the great thing about wrestling. Every guy that's worth watching has something really special and unique to bring to the table. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jason, you've been watching for years. You've been watching more extensively than I have. You've seen hours of footage. I mean, there's probably obscure guys or just guys that I'm not paying attention to that you would say, no, this makes them like the greatest wrestler of all time.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Jason, to be honest, Jason's the guy to ask that question to because I could give you the obvious ones. Again, Warrior, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock, CM Punk, Dolph.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to dispute those names, like, because those are the cornerstone names. When I'm sure if you type WWE or wrestling in, they're one of the top 5, Google images.
Right. Exactly. I mean, do you have one yourself? Or
I don't know. It just to not start like at Hogan because I kind of do feel like he's the Babe Ruth of wrestling, despite any feelings you might have on him. I don't know. That seems wrong. Like because he is the most recognizable guy in the industry.
No. Stop there.
What's that?
No, I want to stop you there though. Hulk Hogan is the Babe Ruth of wrestling. You just said it yourself. 110% truth. Fuck you. You're wrong. Jason's right. Hulk is the Babe Ruth of wrestling. I'm not wrong in that. I don't think you're wrong. Like that. That's fucking truth. If it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, WWE wouldn't exist right now.
Yeah. And that's not a statement saying there hasn't been guys better than him. If you look at baseball, there's been trillions of guys who've been better than Babe Ruth.
There was a Joe DiMaggio.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the thing. Like for every Babe Ruth, I mean, Jose Canseco, whatever you want to say. Oh God. I vaguely know. Baseball. I'm just
Ted Williams.
Bird, but whatever. That's basketball.
Larry Bird. The center fielder, Larry Bird.
You shut your Wayne Gretzky, the Wayne Gretzky of baseball.
Too funny. Let's see. I'll go through some more questions. Big Jim Sports. If you're not following Big Jim, he's awesome because he buys Marks on Commentary t-shirts, so you should go follow him yourself if you're not already doing so.
Buy t-shirts. What's the link, Jason?
It is prowrestlingtees.com/marksOnCommentary. You can also get it at marksoncommentary.com. Anyways, Big Jim wants to know, are you legitimately concerned for The Undertaker in his match against Brock Lesnar, with Brock working so rough?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be blunt with you. Yeah, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. I think to not be concerned is kind of foolish after seeing what he's done in the past year to other guys.
Well, I think the thing with Brock is because he's green again. Brock was green when he came into the company. He hurt a lot of people. He's green again because he hasn't really been in the ring. And he's had, a match or two a year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to dumb down The Undertaker, but Undertaker is not in the shape of his life.
No.
I mean, you could have a match with Brock this WrestleMania, and Undertaker could be out 2 WrestleManias from now. If Brock gets carried away and he doesn't want to train according to Undertaker or Mark Calloway's rules. Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, regardless, I think it's going to be awesome to watch because I know Undertaker's going to bring it regardless.
And it's not like they haven't had matches before. That's another thing to keep in mind. They've had some really good matches before. It's different because of age.
Yep.
Age and experience. To put it bluntly, I think they're both really inexperienced right now. Taker does a match a year. Brock has done, according to the past couple of years, he's done 2 matches a year. There's a lot of stiffness and a lot of being green in that ring come WrestleMania.
But somehow guys that perform like that, at least those two have delivered, match of the year candidates.
I think in order for that match to pay off, it has to be a 4-star match. And that's a lot of pressure to put on those guys.
Yeah.
That match will not earn its spot on the card unless it's a 4-star match.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those does Taker have left? How many of those does Brock have left in him?
Well, Brock's an awesome athlete, so I don't think physically it's ever gonna be a question of if Brock can still go.
Well,
it's gonna take a long time for him to break down.
Well, you do have to consider though that Brock has been a UFC fighter, not a wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I would be shocked, not surprised, but shocked if Undertaker and Brock it's a strictly UFC kind of match because Mark Calloway is a UFC guy.
Mm-hmm.
He loves that, and he's even said candidly in an interview if time was on his side, he probably would have gone UFC before he went WWF or WWE. So, I mean, yeah, I'm a little worried because I think it's going to be a really physically intense match. And I'm not saying in the sense of choreographed and whatever. No, I think it's going to be an intense match physically for both of them.
Yeah.
However, if you're not worried about the athletes going into the match, you already know it's not worth watching.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's just my take on it.
No, I'm with you. I agree with that. I'd say that wraps up Twitter questions.
We had 2 questions. Excellent.
Yeah, it was slow, but I put it out late, so that's on me.
Well, again, Jason and I, we still kind of shoot from the hip with this show. So, I mean, and it was a weird week because Monday Night Raw was a genuinely weird show for me.
Yeah, it was tough to process it because you felt the whole time that you're going to be rewarded in the end, and it didn't really pan out.
And Jason sounds a little morose saying that, but it's genuinely I agree. There was one person that said, I think I was at WrestleZone.com, it's the radio silence on Punk's end that's kind of killing us right now.
That still makes you question it, too.
If Punk would... well, it makes me question it, but here's the thing. Punk does not owe us anything. Yeah, we bought the DVDs, we bought the T-shirts, we supported our guy when he was hot, but does he owe us anything? Absolutely not. In my opinion, he doesn't owe us anything. However, I'm not going to say he owes us an answer, or me personally, or Jason personally. I do think he should address his fans and not be as cagey or as elusive or as aloof with his fan. I think he should just come right out and say, I'm done with wrestling, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
that's
for the support. You know, I'll see you around.
right. And he kind of did that, but he kind of did that in like a sort of beat around the bush kind of way.
Yeah, because if you go back and read that post, it came out that Monday, and in my mind, I just took it as, oh, he's supporting the Daniel Bryan movement.
Right.
But it's very clear that it was the last time he was going to talk.
Right. I think that's the only thing that's making it very ambiguous and very in the air is that Punk has not addressed his fans formally. He has not come right out and said, look, guys, I'm done with WWE. I'm sorry. It is what it is. And Punk's, from what, I don't know the man personally. This is not me speculating, but he seems like a very blunt and very down-to-earth guy. And if he's done with the company, he'll tell you when he's done. As he's done in candid interviews before. I think he'll come right out and say, I'm done with the company. Why he hasn't yet, and why WWE waited until they sent Paul Heyman out to do the mock CM Punk promo, it bothers me because it still has me scratching my head being like, what do they have up their sleeve, you know?
The only thing I can think of is that they don't want the uninitiated fans, like, not like me and you guys who read the dirt sheets, like we're on a different level, but I'm talking about just the generic wrestling fans, you know, that don't read the dirt sheets, and, you know, maybe they'll buy the network. Maybe they don't want to push them away in WrestleMania season. You know what I mean? Maybe if this was, you know, any other pay-per-view of the year, maybe it would already be out. But the fact that it happened when it happened, maybe it was a mutual thing. Fine, Punk, go home. As long as you don't say anything, we'll discuss this contract down the road.
I guess he's still viable in terms of merchandising, and that's been like the number one thing I read about is Vince still believes in him as a juggernaut in terms of commerce, in terms of merchandising and dollars and cents.
Yep.
Because you know when CM Punk comes back, if it's up to Vince and not Paul, it's going to be in terms of mutual respect, and it's going to be in terms of merchandising. It's in terms of business. It's not in terms of vendettas.
Yeah.
Politics or what have you, but I mean, at MO Commentary 978-276-9418, your thoughts on anything going on right now or on the show. I believe you said it was WrestlingTees.com/Marks of Commentary.
ProWrestlingTees.com.
WrestlingTees.com/Marks of Commentary. Michael Sears already has 2. We have none. Michael Sears 2. Marks of Commentary 0. They look incredible. Like, I will let you know. I was joking with Jason. I said the second I get my hands on those shirts, and I will more than likely be buying some tonight. My fiance will be the poster female of Mark's Commentary shirts. But I don't know. Is there anything you want to add to this show? I mean, again, it was kind of a confusing week.
I did want to say one thing.
It's an announcement. He's an announcement, guys.
It's nothing crazy. We are currently about 500 followers away from breaking 10,000, which is awesome, and all of you guys have been super supportive. Like I said before, WrestleMania weekend, I want to do, you know, some giveaways, and one of the things I'm going to give away is it's sitting on my shelf right now is a brand new copy of WWE Champion, the history of the WWE Championship. It's a cool book. It's got like photos and tells you about like each champion along the way. I forget who's the last one it goes up to it, but it's pretty cool. The only thing that sucks is it's got on the front cover, it's a picture of the spinner belt, so it's got to go.
Jay's playing his part because I gave a DVD out of my closet, so it's only fair.
And I'm thinking I'll do maybe 2 more giveaways, but I got to figure out what else I'm going to do.
Well, okay, if we break 1,000, I do want to mention that I was telling Jason earlier, I want to do a live show.
Yep, I agree.
I think sooner than later. I'll go as far as say next week, but this is Jason's baby. Jason knows what he's doing more than I do. I'm just the guy that drinks and eats nachos and pisses people off. It's not really up to me, but I think Jason wants to do a live show around WrestleMania, I think you're saying.
Yeah, I think that would be the time to do it, is post-WrestleMania. Would you guys be interested? Would you guys, you know, forego watching the network to come hang out with some marks, talk about the show? You know, live, you guys. I think the other cool thing is we can set up a Skype line that people can call in, we'll talk to you guys directly. I think that'd be cool to do as well.
No, I love the idea. I think theoretically it's a great idea. Conceptually, it's a phenomenal idea. I'm going to jump the gun and say if you fuckers don't jump on that, I'm just going to force Jason doing a live show within the next 2 weeks. I would love to do like a post-WrestleMania. Like, I would love to open the Skype line or give you one of our personal Skype addresses and even just keep you not necessarily in the back burner, but in our pocket and say, like, if we have your Skype address and we had fun talking with you, we'll have you on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going to have Sean on tonight. Sean's, kind of on sabbatical from work. He's doing his thing. I know Catherine has expressed interest in coming back for a show. What else?
Still have the Andy Kaufman interview coming up possibly next week.
Is that next week? You got to let me know on that. I got to know about dates.
I still have to follow up with them, but it's somebody that's directly close to Andy Kaufman.
I didn't know if it's okay to talk about this then.
I think we can touch on it. I mean, we're not...
We can touch on it. I'll be honest with you. If I can talk to anyone who's close to Andy Kaufman, being an overzealous fan of comedy like I am, I will promise you right now, this is not only going to be the first interview in Mark's commentary history that I will be there for, I will probably be pissing Jason off with the number of questions I'll have for this person.
No. I think that'd be awesome.
So, I mean, I'm excited about that. I keep worrying. So I'm like, oh, God, when was that interview supposed to happen? Because Jason had privately messaged me about it. But that'll be a fun interview. And if that person is listening right now, I'm excited. I'm super stoked about it. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And this is an environment where, obviously, I've been drinking. I'd be drinking. Fuck it. Like, it's our show, dude. Drink, have fun. It's a conversation. I'm sitting on my sofa. Jason's sitting on his computer. Undoubtedly, like, we're just hanging out. Like, that will be a fun show. Because if you're an Andy Kaufman fan or a wrestling fan, I think we're going to get a lot out of this person.
Yeah.
So, and if Andy Kaufman doesn't go into the Hall of Fame this year, I think obviously that's going to create an even greater conversation with why is he not in yet.
Yep.
Obviously, the other question is, did Jim Carrey do justice in Man on the Moon? But no, 978-2769-418 at MO Commentary. I think that about wraps it up. Jason's going to repost the WrestleMania, 30 Days of WrestleMania the first, the Genesis.
First one? Yep.
WrestleMania.
And check every day following that, leading up to WrestleMania, and we're going to have a new video every day.
I mean, otherwise, ProWrestlingTees.com/Marks on Commentary. For Marks on Commentary, I'm Eddie Brophy.
I'm Jason Smith.
We will talk to you next week.
Never hangs around.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey, wrestling fans and freaks alike. I am the Information Highway's last living outlaw. My name is the Masked Tweeter. I hail from parts unknown. I am here today to deliver to you breaking news that's going to put you in a headlock. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Stop the presses. Get the president on the horn. This is a big one, folks. I am joining forces with Andy's Army.
Andy's Army.
To get Andy Kaufman the 2014 WWE Hall of Fame Induction Award. Think about it. You, me, the rest of Andy's Army. Together we can collaborate and make this happen, folks. I don't have to tell you, how cool would it be to play a small part in getting the legendary comedian Andy Kaufman inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame Class of 2014. Wherever you visit online, I want you to hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. Let me say it again. Hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. Wherever you go, Facebook, Twitter, I want you to hashtag it. I want you to tell your friends. I want you to tell your family. I want you to stop people on the street, people you don't even know. And I want you to say, hey, let's put Andy Kaufman in the WWE Hall of Fame Class of 2014. I know you can do it. Remember, hashtag AK4WWEHOF 2014. And don't forget to visit me on Twitter at MaskTweeterX.
I'm urinating because I just marked the commentary. Evacuation complete. Oh, that was the Austin Powers reference for anyone listening. Did I lose Jason?